Hello, children of class 7. Today we are going to study the poem The Rebel. Rebel means a person who is opposed to the political system in their country and tries to change its using force. In other words, we can say a person who does not like rules or authority and shows this by behaving differently from most people in society. The meaning of the rebel is like this. Now, let's move to the poet of this rebel. It is written by D.J. Enright. Dennis Joseph Enright was English poet, born Leamington, 1920. Enright taught English in the University of Alexandria and Singapore, then returned to England to work in publishing. He built up a considerable British reputation by avoiding rhetorical gesture and putting strict limits on the language so that his verbal tone is restrained even when his subjects are interesting. His poetry that values irony above passion and keeps an emotional distance from the reader. He projects an aloof and the pedagogic personality in poems that gently mock Philistinism as it by one and now. This poem does not work for you. Just drop your mind into it and leave it to the soak while you relax with the telly or go to the pub. About this poem, the idea of the poem The Rebel. The poet has a sensible appreciation for the complex and contradictory attitude of rebels and non-conformist. Every absolutist action is motivated by self-assertion, exhibition, and individualistic show of the defiance and unrestricted urge to the indifferent world. He is therefore a pseudo rebel. DJ Wright's portrait of a rebel is keen, subtle, and witty, neither vicious nor dangerous. The rebel role play acting is the harmlessly motivated by either a sense of inferiority or insecurity or self exhibition, serious and solemn in themselves, and funny to their peers, but unfunny to their superiors. A passing phase in a person's growth towards maturity, cautioning his reader to ponder the poem remains open minded, though it closes on a cautionary muted note. The poem is remarkable for its amusing humor devoid of the malice or bitterness. The poet successfully persuades us to develop tolerance for rebels and bear with their eccentric attitude and desire to be different from the regimented crowd governed by a mass mind. Now let's read the poem. When everybody has short hair, the rebel lets his hair long. When it is the general desire for rain, he necessitates that importance of the sun, and when the people want the sun bath, he goes for rain. When others attend meetings, he stays home, and when others stays home, he attends meetings. He says yes when he should say no, but says no when he should say yes. In short, each action of the rebel is the stimulated by self exhibition and inexperienced attitude of the adolescents. The poet has remarkably described the non conformist behavior of the rebel in a light, funny, and casual manner. The poet says that the individual freedom is very important and we must learn to accept it in society. No two persons can be equal. The poet also says that such people in society do exist, but we must have a soft corner for them. But we should try to be one. This is, you can say, the moral of this poem. And the thought is behind this poem is this, that we should respect the others' attitude, we should respect the others' thinking, what they are thinking about their their self. So this is the moral of the poem. When everybody has short hair, the rebel lets his hair grow long. When everybody has long hair, the rebel cuts his hair short. When everybody talks during the lesson, the rebel doesn't say a word. When nobody talks during the lesson, the rebels create a disturbance. When everybody wears a uniform, the rebels dresses in fantastic clothes. When everybody wears fantastic clothes, the rebels dresses soberly. In the company of dog lovers, the rebels expresses preferences for cats. In the company of the cat lovers, the rebels puts in a good words for dogs. When everybody is praising for the sun, the rebels remarks on the need for rain. When everybody is greeting the rain, the rebel regrets the absence of sun. When everybody goes to the meeting, the rebel stays at home and reads a book. When everybody stays at home and reads a book, the rebels goes to the meeting. When everybody says, yes, please, the rebel says, no, thank you. When everybody says, no, thank you, the rebel says, yes, please. It is very good that we have rebels. You may not find it very good to be one. This is the poetry. Now, I am going to explain the poem line wise. The first line is, when everybody has short hair, the rebels lets his hair grow long. In these lines, the poet expresses the attitude of social rebel. When everybody keeps short and uniform hair, the rebel knowingly grows his hair long. This he does for the fact that he wants to look different from others. In this way, he wanted to look different from others because he doesn't like to remain same or similar to other person. Now let's move to the next two lines. When everybody has long hair, the rebel cuts his hair short. In these lines, the poet says that the rebels goes against the custom and tradition of the society. When rest of the society grows long hair, the rebels cuts his hair short. This he does just to have a difference from others. He wanted to show him different personality. When everybody talks during the lesson, the rebel doesn't say a word. Now, in these lines, the poet expresses the thought when every member of the society talks during a lesson or meeting, the rebel keeps silent because he wants to be prominent. Nobody talks during the lesson, the rebel creates a disturbance. In very contradictory way, the poet says, in these lines, the poet says when the nobody talks during the lesson or meeting, the rebel creates disturbance by talking loudly just to look distinct. So he is all continuously showing himself a different person, different from the society. Now here, when everybody wears uniform, the rebels dresses in fantastic clothes. In these lines, you can see These lines shows a different position of a rebel. When every person of the society wears simple and uniform clothes, the rebel uses strange and odd clothes. He wants to look distinguished from others. He's just gaudy and very full of sparkles he used to wear. So that way he wants to look distinguished from others. When everybody wears fantastic clothes, the rebel dresses soberly. Now, here you can see in these lines the poet says, when all other members of the society use cute and strange clothes, the rebel dresses himself very seriously and soberly. Now, just opposite of the people, those who are wearing very sober clothes, very simple clothes, then he used to wear a very gaudy clothes, and then the people are wearing a very simple clothes. He used to wear. In the company of dog lovers, the rebel expresses a preference for cats. Now here we can see, if the people in this line, the poet expresses his idea of the rebel. If someone loves dog as pet animal, the rebel talks about the usefulness of cats. He prefers cats to dogs. In the line number 15 and 16, in the company of cat lovers, the rebel puts in a good words for dogs. Now here you can see the contradictory statement regarding cats and dogs. If a rebel in the company of those people who loves cat, he prefers dogs to cat, he wants to look different at all cost. Let's move to the next line, the line 17 and 18. When everybody is praising the sun, the rebel remarks on the need for rain. The poet says, if people requires the sunlight and praise the sun, the rebel is against them. He says that the sun is not required and there is a need for rain. When everybody is greeting the rain, the rebel regrets the absence of sun. Now see, again he is against the people. When everybody of society welcomes and requires rain, the rebel says something about the sun. He feels sorry for the absence of the sun. According to him, there is need for the sunlight. Now let's move to the 21 and 22 line. When everybody goes to the meeting, the rebel stays at home and reads a book. See what a different style he was behaving. Now here we can see, when every member of society goes to some gathering and attends the meetings, the rebel stays at home and keeps himself busy by reading a book indoors. When everybody stays at home and reads a book, the rebel goes to meeting. Now just opposite, when everybody of society stays at home and reads a book, the rebels try to find some crowd of the people and wants to attend to them. When everybody says yes please, the rebel says no thank you. When every person asks for something, the rebels reject the same with thanks, because he is a person quite different from others. When everybody says no thank you, the rebels say yes please. When everybody of the society does not like and does not receive anything and says thanks for that, the rebels say on purpose, requires that thing and asks for it. It is very good that we have rebels. You may not find it very good to be one. Now here the poet says, in these lines, the poet concludes that it is very good that we have social rebels in the society. But naturally, it is not good to become a social rebel. The poet further suggests that if we already have the social rebels, we should tolerate them. Without them, life will become monotonous and dull. Now, in this poem, we can see it's a lightly expressed poem written in a casual style, free of any bitterness or criticism. The poet shows the character of the rebel. one who does not conform to norms of society and has a contradictory attitude based on the self assertion. This is not typically a political rebel who wants a revolution in this country, but this is a common man, a common adolescent boy who, for his inexperience, exhibit himself so as to draw attention. The poet lists various contradictory activities of the rebel. He says that when everybody has short hair, the rebel grows his hair long, and when long hair is in, the rebel cuts his hair shorts. He stays silent in lesson when everyone is discussing a matter. But when it is time for general discussion, the rebels remain attentive to the teacher and does not participate in the discussion. When people wear uniforms, he puts on showy dresses, and when people wear colorful dresses, he does the opposite. In the company of the cat lovers, he prefers dogs, and in the company of dogs, he prefers the otherwise. When it is the Let's read the stanza 1. When everybody has short hair, the rebel lets his hair grow long. When everybody has long hair, the rebel cuts his hair short. Now, in this poem, the poet tells us about the funny behavior of in a humorous manner. A rebel tries to be different from others. He acts against the old traditions and customs of the society. Actually, such persons wants to become a prominent among the people, and for that he adopts funny ways. Now, in these lines, the poet described the strange and funny attitude of a rebel in a delightful manner. He amuses us by explaining various odd and awkward habits of the rebel. He says that rebels always go against the act of the normal people. The poet says, when there is a fashion of the short hair, the rebels like to have long hair. But when the people likes to have long hair, a rebel prefers to have short hair. In short hairs, he wants to reject all the words and deeds of the normal people to show himself different and prominent. Now let's move to the stanza 2. When everybody talks during the lesson, the rebel doesn't say a word. When nobody talks during the lesson, the rebels create a disturbance. Now, here we can see in these lines the poet described the strange and funny attitude of a rebel in a delightful manner. He amuses us by explaining various odd and awkward habits of the rebel. He says that a rebel always go against the act of the normal people. The poet says that he talks during the lesson when others are quiet and remain dumb. When others are busy in the conversation, in short, he wants to reject all the words and deeds of the normal people to show himself different and prominent. Now let's do the stanza 3. When everybody wears a uniform, the rebel dresses in fantastic clothes. And when everybody wears fantastic clothes, the rebels dresses soberly. In these lines, the poet described the strange and funny attitude of the rebel in delightful manner. He says that a rebel always go against the acts of the normal people. The poet says that he dresses in the colorful clothes when others wear simple clothes and wears simple clothes on joyful occasion. In short, he wants to reject all the words and deeds of the normal people to show himself different and prominent. Now let's move to the next stanza. In the company of dog lovers, the rebel expresses her preferences for cats. In the company of cat lovers, the rebel puts in a good words for dogs. Now here he says that a rebel always go against the acts of the normal people. The poet says that he start loving cats in the presence of the dog lovers and talks about dogs when people appreciate cats. In short, he wants to reject all the words and deeds of the normal people to show himself different and prominent. Now, let's move to the next. When everybody is praising the sun, the rebel remarks on the need for rain. When everybody is greeting the rain, the rebel regrets the absence of sun. In these lines, the the poet says that a rebel always go against the act of the normal people. The poet says when everybody wishes for the sun, he prays for rain, but feels sad at the absence of sun on a rainy day. In short, he wants to reject all the words and deeds of the normal people to show himself different and prominent. Now, next paragraph. When everybody goes to the meeting, the rebel stays at home and reads a book. When everybody stays at home and reads a book, the rebel goes to meeting. Now here we can see that a rebel always go against the act of the normal people. The poet says when the people enjoys meeting, he prefers to remain at home and reads a book, but leaves home on seeing others staying indoor and reading books. In short, he wants to reject all the words and deeds of the normal people to show himself different and prominent. Now let's move to the next paragraph. When everybody says yes, please, the rebel says no, thank you. When everybody says no, thank you, the rebel says yes, please. Now, here we can see he says that a rebel, the when others says he says, the other says he says, but says when others in short, he wants to reject all the words and deeds of the normal people and himself different and prominent. In these lines, the poet describes strange and funny rebel delightful. If we should analyze this poem in our own word, so we can find that DJ and Wright builds the character of the rebel on the solid foundation. He described the attitude of the person who acts against the normal fashion of life to become a prominent in society. Such person is not a rebel in any political sense. He wants to exhibit his individualism and wants to be more prominent than others. He does not like to look like an ordinary man. If everybody has short hair, he lets his hair long. If nobody talks during the lesson in the classroom, he is the one who alone created disturbance in the class. If everybody wears fantastic clothes, he wears the sober dresses. If everybody is greeting the rainfall alone in the person to regret the absence of sunlight, the poet is not angry at the challenging behavior of the such a social rebel. As a matter of fact, his strange behavior breaks away the boring routine of our daily life. Of course, the continuation of the same habit and customs make our life mechanical. If someone can come forward to relieve us for of the mechanical boredom of our life, we should appreciate his efforts, though we may call him a rebel. We should take him as a man whose behavior should be psychological commendable. It is it is very important that we have rebels. We may not find it very good to be one, as we may not fact the criticism. First question is, if someone doesn't wear a uniform to school, what do you think the teacher will say? Now, it is very practical question, and we used to run this question, and always in the school we are having the same problem. Some children are not wearing the proper uniform, and teacher are asked to why they are not wearing proper uniform, and after that they call their parents, and they are writes in they write in their diaries. So these are the procedure of those who are not wearing uniform the teachers are used to do. Now here we can say if the purposely the child is not wearing a proper uniform daily, or is not paying attention on the teacher's word, so the teacher would scold the students who could not be dressed in the school uniform while coming to the school. So it is a very simple way to discipline a child to write in their diary, or after so many reminders if the children are not wearing uniform properly, so the teacher would scold the students who would not be dressed in the school uniform while coming to the school. Now let's move to the second question. When everyone wants a clear sky, what does the rebel want most? In our earlier lines, we have already read that the rebel always wants a different thing, always think differently. Now, when everyone wants a clear sky, the rebel wants the sun. Now, third question, if the rebel has a dog for a pet, which is what is everyone else likely to have? If a rebel have a dog for a pet, the others are most likely to be cat lovers. So it's always going beyond the majority. If the people have a cat, so he wanted a dog. Now the fourth question is, what why is it good to have rebels? Now it is very important question, and we can write this answer in our own way. So it is good to have rebels because very few people have the power to oppose the decision of majority. They think differently. The rebels think differently and fearlessly stand with their choices, which can be beneficial. It is it is very important to have a rebel in our society, in our school. So they think differently. They are having a different type of the ideas of anything. So it is very important to have a rebels. It is good. Now, why is it not good to be rebel oneself? So this is the main. So the answer we can write. It is not good to be a rebel oneself because the society never accept a rebel and always criticize his behavior, and maybe sometime he become very harsh to the people because he was always opposing the thing what is going on. So maybe he will become very harsh to the people. So it is not good to be a rebel oneself always. Now the sixth question is, would you like to be a rebel? If yes, why? If not, why not? So you can write, it is depend on your thinking that if you would like to be rebel or not. But you can write the answer if you would like to be rebel. So I would like to be rebel because a rebel is able to think individually rather than the following the herd mentality. However, it is not easy to be rebel as the rebels are always criticized by the society for their different behavior. So we can write like this. If you want to be a rebel, you can write. If you don't want to be a rebel, so you can write at that. Now the second question is, find the poem and antonyms, a word opposite in meaning. Second question in this text, find in the poem an antonym, a word opposite in meaning for each of the following words. Long is short, grow is cut, quietness is disturbance, fantastic, sober, fantastic, and lost is to find. So we have to choose the antonym from the poem. That's why we have written long, short, grow, cut, quietness, disturbance, sober, fantastic, lost, find. We have chosen from the poem. Now, third question, find in the poem's line that match the following. Read both one after the another. So here the answer, the first is the rebel refuses to cut his hair. The answer is the rebel lets his hair grow long. Second, he says cats are better. The rebel expresses a preference for cats. Now, third, he recommends dogs. Now the rebel puts in a good word for dogs. Fourth, he is unhappy because there is no sun. The rebel regrets the absence of sun. Now fifth, he is noisy on purpose. Fifth, the rebel creates a disturbance. Now that's all for today. Children, please write this poem in your copy and do the exercises and learn the exercises which are given in this poem. So that's all for today. Bye bye.